The fluorescent lights of St. Mary's Hospital hummed their familiar tune as I made my rounds on the fourth floor. It was a Tuesday evening in late November, and most patients had visitors trickling in after work. Husbands with flowers, children with homemade cards, friends with magazines and gossip. But room 412 remained silent. I'm Daniel Morrison, a nurse practitioner who'd been working at St. Mary's for 6 years. I'd seen countless patients come and go, witnessed joy and heartbreak in equal measure. But something about the woman in room 412 tugged at something deep in my chest. Her name was Margaret Maggie Sullivan, 73 years old, admitted 2 weeks ago with pneumonia that had progressed into sepsis. The infection had ravaged her frail body, and she'd spent days fighting a battle that seemed determined to claim her. What struck me most wasn't her medical condition. It was the visitor log outside her door, completely blank. Not a single name in 14 days. Still no one? My colleague Sarah Bennett asked as she walked past. I shook my head, staring at that empty clipboard. Not one person. Sarah sighed. Did you check her emergency contacts? There's a nephew listed, James Sullivan. Lives about 40 minutes away. I've called 5 times. Every call goes straight to voicemail. That evening, after my shift ended, I found myself standing outside room 412. Something compelled me to push open the door. Maggie was awake, her pale grey eyes fixed on the window where November rain streaked down the glass. She looked so small, so utterly abandoned, that I felt something crack inside my chest. "Mrs. Sullivan?" I said softly. "How are you feeling?" She turned slowly, and I saw surprise flicker across her weathered face. Surprise that someone was actually asking. "I've been better, young man." Her voice was hoarse from the ventilator tube they'd removed days ago, though I suppose I've been worse too. I pulled up the chair beside her bed. "Mind if I sit for a few minutes?" "It's your time to waste," she said, but I could hear the loneliness underneath those words, decades of it. "It's not a waste," I said firmly. "Tell me something about yourself. Something that's not in your medical chart." Maggie studied me for a long moment, her eyes searching like she was trying to determine if I was real. "Why?" "Because you're more than a diagnosis, and because everyone deserves to be seen. Right now, I want to see you." Something softened in her eyes. A wall came down, brick by brick. "I was a librarian for 45 years, she began quietly. "Head librarian at Jefferson Public Library downtown. Helped thousands of people find the stories they were searching for." A bittersweet smile touched her lips. "I always believed everyone has a story worth reading. Even me, I suppose." "Tell me yours," I said softly. Her eyes lit up. "I grew up in Boston, daughter of Irish immigrants. My father worked on the docks. My mother cleaned houses. We didn't have much, but we had books. My mother would save every penny to buy me books from the secondhand shop." "That's beautiful." "She died when I was 16. Pneumonia, actually." Maggie's voice caught, just like what nearly killed me. "I promised her I'd make something of myself. So I became a librarian. Met my husband, Thomas, at the library. He came in looking for a book on fly, fishing, and left with my phone number." She laughed, the sound like wind chimes. "We were married for 38 years. We talked for over an hour that first night. She told me about her daughter, Catherine, who died in childbirth at 32, along with the baby, about how the grief had nearly destroyed her, about her nephew James, who drifted away after too many losses. People drift apart," she said, her voice hollow. "I don't blame him, but it doesn't make the loneliness any easier. Do you know what it's like to realize you could die tomorrow, and no one would come to your funeral?" I reached out and took her hand. "You're not alone anymore. Not while I'm here." Maggie's eyes filled with tears. "You don't have to promise me anything. This isn't my job. My job ended an hour ago. This is me choosing to be here." The next day, I came back during lunch with sandwiches, and the day after that with crossword puzzles. It became a routine I looked forward to more than anything else. Maggie started anticipating my visits. Her eyes would light up when I walked in, and she'd have stories ready to share. "You know what's funny?" she said one afternoon. "I spent 45 years helping people find stories, But I forgot how to tell my own. I forgot that I mattered enough to be read. You matter so much, Maggie. We talked about everything. Her childhood in Boston. Her first teaching job, the day Thomas proposed in the poetry section. Tell me about Catherine, I said gently one day. Maggie's face crumpled, but then she started talking. She had Thomas's laugh, this big, booming laugh too loud for her tiny body. She loved animals, wanted to be a veterinarian. She was going to name the baby Grace, after my mother. Tears streamed down her face. There was a complication during delivery, an amniotic embolism. Catherine died within minutes. The baby never took a breath. Thomas and I were in the waiting room, so excited, and then a doctor came out with this terrible look. I held her hands while she cried, while decades of grief poured out. Thomas never really recovered, she continued. 6 years later came the cancer diagnosis. I've been alone for 12 years now. 12 years of waking up alone, eating alone, being invisible. I see you, I said fiercely. I see you, Maggie. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met. By her 3rd week, physical therapy started. I was there the day she took her first steps with the walker. Come on, Maggie, Marcus, the therapist, encouraged. Just 15 more feet. His hands gripped the walker, her legs trembling violently. Sweat beaded on her forehead. You've got this, I called from the nurse's station. Look at me and keep coming. She locked eyes with mine and something fierce flashed across her face. She made it those last 15 feet, one agonizing step at a time. Did you see that? She asked, breathless and beaming. I saw it. You're a warrior, Maggie Sullivan. No one's been here to see me do anything in so long. Her voice cracked. I'd forgotten what it felt like to have someone be proud of me. I wrapped my arms around her carefully. I'm so proud of you. I see you, Maggie. Every day I see you. Thanksgiving came. I'd volunteered to work the full day, but the truth was I wanted to be with Maggie. Around 1 o'clock, I grabbed 2 trays from the cafeteria, institutional turkey, lumpy mashed potatoes, canned cranberry sauce, pumpkin pie. It looked sad, but I didn't care. Maggie's eyes widened when she saw me with both trays. Daniel, I thought you'd be with your family. I am with my family, I said, setting down the trays. Her face crumpled. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You don't mean that. I mean it with everything I have. You're my family, Maggie. Not by blood, but by choice. And that's even more powerful. She sobbed, great heaving sobs. I held her hand while years of loneliness poured out. I thought I'd die alone in this room, she whispered. That no one would even care enough to claim my body. I would care. You matter, Maggie. Your life matters. Your story matters. We ate our Thanksgiving dinner together. She told me about past holidays. Thomas burning the turkey. Catherine practicing her school play lines at dinner. I told her about my childhood traditions. What are you grateful for this year? She asked. This right here. You've reminded me why I became a nurse, to see people. Really see them. She squeezed my hand. You saved my life, Daniel. In every way that counts. December came with discharge planning. The social worker, Jennifer Cooper, called a meeting. Mrs. Sullivan, you need support at home, Jennifer said. What about your nephew? Maggie's face closed off. I don't want to be a burden. You're not a burden, I said firmly. Jennifer looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Sullivan, do you have anyone who can help you? Maggie looked at me with hope and fear. I have Daniel. I know he can't be my nurse anymore, she said quickly. But maybe he could be my friend? Visit sometimes? I don't have anyone else. I'll do it, I said, my voice certain. I'll check on her every day if needed. I'll make sure she's safe. I'll be there. Jennifer frowned. That's not exactly formal. Put me down as her primary support person. She's not going to a facility to die alone. I won't allow it. Maggie's face transformed with joy and relief. Really? Really, I promise. 2 weeks later, I helped Maggie settle into her small brick house on Maple Street. Photos covered every surface, her wedding, Catherine as a baby, Thomas building a crib, shelves of books everywhere. It's good to be home, she said, sinking into her armchair. It's good to have you home. I came by every day. We cooked together, watched Jeopardy, worked in her garden. Slowly Maggie bloomed. Color returned to her cheeks. She laughed easily. She started baking again. "You take care of me. Let me take care of you too," she said, handing me cookies. That's what family does. I brought friends to meet her. Soon my friends were visiting on their own. She became a grandmother figure to everyone, including me. We spent every holiday together. My parents flew in from Arizona and within an hour were calling her Mom Sullivan. One evening in late January, as we sat watching snow fall, Maggie turned to me with tears streaming down her face. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. For the first time in 12 years, I'm not invisible. I have you. I'm actually living again. You saved me too," I said. "You reminded me what it means to really care about someone." "So what are we?" Maggie asked. "We're family, not the kind you're born into, but the kind you choose. The kind that saves your life." She pulled out a photograph wrapped in tissue, her and Thomas on their wedding day, and tucked in the frame was a picture of us doing a crossword puzzle together. "You're part of my family now," she said, crying. "I wanted you to have proof." I held her while we both cried healing tears. The call came on a Tuesday morning in April, 3 years and 5 months after Maggie had been admitted to room 412. My neighbor Rachel's voice shook. "Daniel, I'm so sorry. I came by this morning and she didn't answer. I used the key and she was in her chair. It looks peaceful. I drove to Maple Street, my hands steady on the wheel, even though my heart was breaking. Maggie was in her favorite chair by the window, a book open on her lap, reading glasses on her nose. A cup of tea sat beside her. She'd been reading and simply stopped. There was a small smile on her face. I sat on the floor beside her and cried. But I also felt gratitude, profound gratitude for every moment we'd shared. Then I noticed a letter in her hand. My name on the envelope. "My dearest Daniel, if you're reading this, I've already said goodbye. I'm sorry I couldn't say it in person. But I died happy. Me, Margaret Sullivan, who spent 12 years drowning in loneliness, died happy. That's because of you. You walked into room 412 when you didn't have to. You saw me when I'd become invisible. You gave me back my humanity. These 3 years have been the happiest I've known since I lost Thomas and Catherine. You showed me it's never too late to build a family, that love has no age limit. I've left you my house. Fill it with life and love. Keep my books and pass them on. More importantly, find your own room 412, Daniel. Find other forgotten people. See them, choose them. Love them, the world desperately needs that. Don't mourn me too much. I lived a full life, and the ending was beautiful because you were in it. I got to be a mother again. I got to matter. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for being my son in every way that counts. All my love. Mom, P.S. I was never really alone in the end. I had you, and that made all the difference. I sobbed until I had no tears left. Over 200 people came to Maggie's funeral. Former library patrons, students she'd helped, neighbors whose lives she'd touched. When I spoke, I told them about room 412 and the empty visitor log, about choosing to see her, about building a family. Maggie thought she'd been erased, I said, tears streaming down my face. But every person here proves she mattered. She touched lives in ways she never fully knew. Maggie taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about seeing people, really seeing them. There are people dying alone in hospitals right now with blank visitor logs. And Maggie would want us to be the people who choose to see them. Find your own room 412. Find someone forgotten. See them, choose them, love them. My voice broke. No one came for her in that hospital, so I became her family. And in becoming her family, I found mine. Rest well, Mom. Thank you for teaching me what love really means. 6 months later, I was walking past the 4th floor patient rooms. Room 412 was occupied again. An elderly man named George Patterson with congestive heart failure. I glanced at the visitor log, completely blank. 5 days, not a single visitor. I felt that familiar tug in my chest. My shift was over. I could go home. But I thought about Maggie, about her letter. Find your own room 412. I pushed open the door. George looked up warily. You assigned to me? No, I admitted. But I noticed your visitor log was empty, and I thought you could use some company. His expression shifted to surprised hope. Why would you do that? I pulled up the chair beside his bed and smiled, because everyone has a story worth knowing. And I'd like to know yours if you'll tell me. George stared at me, then slowly began to speak. I was a carpenter for 50 years, built houses all over this city. But my own family... Tell me, I said gently. I'm listening. And I was, just like Maggie had taught me, just like I do for every forgotten person I could find. Because that's what family does. We see each other, we choose each other, we save each other. One room, 4 on 12 at a time. The end. In memory of all the forgotten people in hospital rooms everywhere, may someone choose to see them. May someone choose to stay.